I'm getting paid.
And you know how Steppin with Marcus J. We're gonna keep it moving. That one was a little bit fun, but we're gonna take a little bit of a more serious turn with the next couple of stories that we have here in the What the Hell segment. And these will all make you say what the hell, but they're a little bit more serious. I'm getting this next one from MadameWa.com. This is a story of racial profiling. Dennis White and Cherry Johnson. Dennis White is an actor who has appeared in several movies, most notably or most recently in the movie Notorious, the Notorious B.I.G. movie. He played Biggie's friend D-Rock. And Cherry Johnson, who was an actress most notably during her childhood when she played Punky Brewster's little friend on the show, and she was also briefly on Family Matters. They have been blogging about a case in racial profiling, and I got this from MadameNoir.com, but I'm going to paraphrase it because I'm familiar with the story, so I don't really have to read it out too much. But they were on vacation. They had just come from an acting seminar. They were on vacation and on their way to Myrtle Beach, and they were driving through a town in South Carolina. And they had some car trouble, not any debilitating car trouble, but car trouble nonetheless. And they figured, let's pull over and give the car a chance to kind of regroup itself. And so they pulled over in a cotton field. And for those folks that are listening who may not be familiar with the South, we know the stigmatism of cotton fields with us black folk historically. But those of us who are here in 2013, there is some fascination with cotton fields when you think about the plight that our previous generations have been through. I have personally been through this. I have seen cotton fields, and I have also personally pulled over just to kind of stop and have a moment. That's just me. And so when I heard the story about these folks pretty much doing the same thing, they saw the cotton field, so they pulled over and they had a moment. While they were pulled over, a police officer pulled up behind them and basically questioned them on why they were in the area, what they're doing in the area, asked them if they had drugs in the car and what you doing here, where you from, where you going, giving them that whole speech. And of course, the fella, Dennis White, did most of the talking, which, you know, not to be chauvinistic, but I think I probably would have done the same thing if I was with my lady. I probably would have done most of the talking, like, you know, we passing through, blah, blah, blah. Well, apparently the officer wasn't happy with the answers that he was getting, and he had become more and more aggressive, separating the two parties, asking them essentially the same questions. But he focused on Cherry Johnson and kept asking her if she had drugs and things of that sort. And when she responded, why you asking me these things? Why you tripping? He gets a lot more aggressive. This is Officer S. Barfield in South Carolina. So if you pulling through, if you going through all in that area, keep your eye out for this guy. But anyway, just kind of wrap up the story so we can talk about it. He is not happy that she asked him that question. He puts them both in handcuffs, wants to search the car, which they don't have any drugs or nothing in the car. He's very aggressive physically as well as verbally with both the parties. Another officer comes out on the scene who is less aggressive, but clearly it's a situation that they feel is of racial profiling. I heard them on a radio show yesterday. I won't call them out, but they're another show on another station. I heard their direct interpretation of what their experience was. And so I want to bring this up. That's why I want you in on this one first. We know you ain't from Jersey. You from Pennsylvania, even though you like to rep Jersey. But
Mommy, they picking.
I'm picking on you
they
already.
Picking on me, Mommy.
I'm picking on you already. But seriously, we in the South. I've seen cotton fields. I don't see any reason that it's a problem to pull over. But that's not what this case is about. This case is about this particular officer who pulled up behind them, asked them a whole bunch of questions, put them in cuffs because he didn't like being questioned after they questioned him on why he's tripping. What's your thoughts?
Well, he didn't like his authority being questioned, just like you said. He picked on her to ask her most of the questions because she wasn't answering the questions initially, and maybe he thought that she would break down and tell him something that he was hoping to find out. And again, another story from South Carolina, and they're just really picking on us. I'm truly quite tired. I mean, it's like every day just about something like this is happening. They just want to pick. I don't understand it. I really don't.
Big Ro, what's your thoughts, bro? You got somebody who is standing on the side of the road, and just kind of taking in the scene. The police come out and take the opportunity to question them. And they feel that they were a victim of racial profiling. What do you say?
Well, I say that he probably was. Well, they probably were, excuse me. And I would say that it's very important at this point in time to know your rights. You know, he's searching my vehicle. There ain't no way he's searching my vehicle, ever. If he does it, he's doing without my permission. And at that point in time, that is against the law. They would have had to take me downtown with my vehicle. Not happening. They let him search it. That's good for them. Because I guess they thought they were going to get out of it that way, but nah.
Let me stop you because I'm going to challenge you. Toya, I'm going to come to you in a minute. But I'm going to challenge you. Mm-hmm. And here's why I'm going to challenge you. Because when we talked a week or two ago about the brother in Charlotte who was in the disabled vehicle who was running towards the police, that brother was someone that you thought was in the wrong because he was running towards the police, which was a challenge to the police. And you didn't use these words, so I'm not putting words in your mouth, but that's my interpretation of what you and JR were saying that night. Could have been interpreted as a challenge to the police. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're challenging the cop now by saying, I ain't letting you search my car, and if you got a problem with me not letting you search my car, then you need to deal with it any way you feel like you need to deal with it, which is what I would do, but is opposite to what I think is consistent to what you said a couple of weeks ago. To that you say what?
Two separate things. First of all, he was running toward police when he was not near his vehicle. He was coming from a house where somebody called 911 on, and he was running toward a policeman at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Now, you did not give a time, a date.
It's the middle of the day.
It's the middle of the day.
Middle of the day.
I ain't drunk. I ain't hurt. My girl hopefully ain't drunk, ain't hurt. We have no reason to hide anything. Why are you bothering me?
Okay.
At that point in time, then yes, you keep answering the same question over and over. No, you're not searching my car.
Toyana, what do you say? What do you say about the situation?
Well, you know, I am from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Right. That's right. You are.
I'm a Charlotte girl. I'm a North Carolina girl.
We haven't had an opportunity to get you in on that case, and I know you're versed on it.
I'm very, on both of those.
We're gonna come back to the Charlotte one if you want to get a comment in on that one to address what Ruben and I were just talking about, because I know you were blogging with us that night as well. But to this particular case, what do you say?
Well, coming from North Carolina and also with South Carolina, it is the South. I do know that profiling happens, but reading it a little bit more, it was pretty much of a challenge of the officer asking those questions, because he had a valid reason saying that there was a warrant for her arrest for whatever odd reason. Now, of course, there may be a lot of other Cherie Johnsons out there, but whatever the case may be, officer, if he or she has probable cause at any reason, that is their job, whether we agree or disagree. Now, is it right for them to verbally abuse you? No. Is it right for them to put their hands on you? No. But if you say, I don't think you should check my car for any reason, you're kind of leaving an open window for them to say, well, I beg to differ and I want to check it. It's called probable cause. Just imagine if we're driving and you pull over and you have your flashes on, the officers don't know what's going on. They're just going to safely assume that you need help,
right,
or you are a cause of something. So I'm not protecting the officers, but I am very familiar with the cops in the South. But I'm just reading a little bit more into this, and I think that it was just kind of back and forth. I agree with you that the cop didn't like their authority to be questioned, but there's cops up here in Virginia the same way.
Right.
I mean, Henrico is notorious.
Here's my thoughts. Actually, that's why let me get you in on here before I give my thoughts. You got a comment here on this particular case? I hadn't given you an opportunity to speak. I'll take the last word before we move on to the next story.
On this one?
Yeah.
You did, baby. You came to me first.
I gave you first. Okay. Here's no, because we've been going back and forth, and this one gets a little bit heated. But here's what I say on this one. I'm just not going to be the guy that's going to be disrespected. I'm just not. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to always be respectful, but I'm not going to be disrespected. And I've told the cop, no, you can't check my car. And I've been fortunate enough to keep it moving. I've also been the guy that's been pulled over and asked, have you been drinking tonight? Yes, I've been drinking tonight. Well, where you going? I'm going home because I've been drinking tonight. I'm just not playing games with you, officer. I'm not. And so if you feel like you need to mess with me, then do what you got to do. But I'm not going to be afraid of the police. I'm not doing that because they're used to messing with people who are upstanding citizens because they're used to dealing with the asses on the corner. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to be putting the class of the ass just because I happen to be in the same color as the ass. I don't get down like that. So if you feel like you need to bust my ass in the street, then do what you got to do. I'm not playing these games with y'all. I'm just not doing that. I'm not living my life in fear, and I'm not letting you disrespect me just because you got a badge. It's not going down like that. I don't roll like that. Let me get some comments in from folks in social media. Kind of going backwards a little bit. I got a real guy, Will, who is going back to the Marissa Alexander case. She said that she shot in an occupied dwelling where her children were present, including a 9-day-old newborn. Did she care where the bullet went? Were phones an option? She refused a plea deal as well, not saying that she should not have taken action and probably should have blasted that fool, which would have been qualified for her to stand her ground if he had broken into the dwelling. I understand the spirit of what you're saying, Will. Just disagree with you because if somebody is threatening your life, you got to do what you got to do. And if we're looking at consistency, it's consistent that in this jurisdiction with this particular district attorney, you got a guy who put 2 in the chest of a boy, and that guy went home versus a woman who fired a warning shot from somebody that was trying to take her life. So I can't ride with you on this one. I got Priscilla Pender who's listening to us. She is the person who I met with in Jersey this weekend who helped to honor me in Jersey City Fashion Week. She's listening to us. Thank you so much for
Priscilla.
your presence
Hi,
tonight,
Priscilla.
as well as in Jersey City this past weekend. It was good to see you. She's saying that doctors leave instruments inside people all the time. I have certainly heard about that. Mm-hmm. A real guy, Will, is coming back on another comment saying that freedom ain't free. And a little cooperation to keep cops in the country safe isn't too much to ask. Of course, some cops abuse their powers. Was this racial profiling? Probably, but some cooperation isn't too much to ask. And he's asking that in a question. If you would have heard those 2 parties on the phone on the show that I listened to yesterday, which I don't have a tape of, and you probably can't gather from me paraphrasing the story, you're not able to really determine my interpretation because I've sided with them, so maybe it's just my interpretation is tainted. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that they were cooperative. And we also know black couple in a cotton field, South Carolina, white cop. I mean, you can take whatever kind of intonation with that as you want. You know, there's a lot of folks that believe that those of us in the black community walk around with our fist in the air and everything is a racial issue. No, everything ain't a racial issue because some of us is asses and we wild out and we do dumb shit. But some of us don't. And some of us who mind our own business, who's going about our own way, who pulled on around the side of the road, who happened to have a moment because we were thinking about the crap that your ancestors put our ancestors through. We don't need you to make it worse by coming and messing with me. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. Ain't no how stepping with Marcus J. I'm going to keep it moving in the rather tough area. We got the Huffington Post here. This story comes right out of our area here in the Richmond, Virginia area. You got Virginia flaggers who are raising Confederate flags, and they draw hundreds of supporters. I want to ask why on this one. First, after days of controversy, a Virginia group followed through on its intentions to raise a Confederate flag commemorating soldiers who fought in the South in the Civil War. I purposely set this story up behind the last one because I figured that we would have some tempers flared. We don't. I'm the only one that's a little annoyed about the other one, but I can see that this particular one got my girl SY clutching her pearls over there. The Associated Press reported Saturday that the Virginia flaggers successfully placed a 15 by 20 foot flag in Chesterfield County, which for those folks who are unfamiliar with the Richmond area, it's the southern county on the southern tip of Richmond, Virginia. More than 200 people gathered to watch the event in a cleared circle of forest off Interstate 95, just state of us here in the capital. Quote, our battles are all defensive, in defense of the honor and good name of our ancestors and against actions taken to dishonor them and desecrate their monuments and memorials, that the Virginia flaggers wrote on their blog Saturday morning. There's only one flag that unites and represents all of us in RVA. That's what we here in the Richmond area call Richmond, Virginia, RVA. And that's the American flag. And that's what Brian Cannon, who's obviously an opponent as well as an attorney representing United RVA, told the local TV station. Yeah, that's why I want you in this one first. What's your thoughts?
I have a question. You know you can go to jail if you burn the American flag, right?
Yes.
Is there something behind burning the Confederate flag?
I am not aware, but my guess is probably not, because the Confederate flag is not an official flag. And so if I pull out the red, black, and green of Africa, probably no one's tripping, just like they probably wouldn't be tripping if I burned
I think
a
we
Confederate
should.
flag. That's my guess.
We
but I
should
don't
have
know.
our own flag. You know, I'm going to just not see the Confederate flag for a moment and just have my own flag. Our own flag, raise our own flag, put it on the back of our trucks when we're driving by, put stickers and pictures of Obama on the back of my truck when I'm driving by, Malcolm X when I'm driving by, and let's see what happens.
You already know what's going to happen.
I'm gonna see what
I mean, as far as the Obama part, I mean, he's the president of the United States. He represents everybody, so I wouldn't necessarily go
Put
there.
his face, okay.
I wouldn't necessarily go there because the reality is the president. You know, I got issues with the dude, just like I had issues with the dude that preceded him. I had issues with the dude that preceded that dude, and I'm probably going to have issues with the next one.
Yeah, I do too.
You know, as proud as we all were to see, you know, a mulatto in the White House, you know, the reality is I don't think anybody thinks that, well, some people think the president
I think we need
runs
to
anything.
come up with our own flag, just as this make-believe flag here.
Toyana, what's your thoughts on this?
I'm confused because even though I'm from North Carolina, I've definitely understood the history of Virginia. I mean, it was called USA History or government, whatever the case is. And I don't need a history lesson every day I commute back and forth from home to work or wherever the case may be. And I do frequent in Chesterfield. So, and I'm astonished that Chesterfield is supposed to be a predominant affluent area, unless I'm wrong. Right. But I'm just very shocked that they will allow that in their community. You know, I expect that. Colonial Heights.
Rob M is listening to us. Thanks for listening.
You know, I expect that somewhere else.
Rob M is saying it on maybe on a state or city level. In some places, there may be a law about burning that Confederate flag.
Rob.
Yeah.
Big Ru, what's your thoughts on this situation, man?
Honestly, ignorance is everywhere. I don't really care. I mean, you want to burn a Confederate flag, that's your property. I could care less. Right. That's nothing to do with me and my personal beliefs and whatnot. I mean, for every dude you have, for every person or family who has an American flag, you know, there's another person with a Confederate flag. The deeper south the southern you go in the United States, the more you see. It's whatever. It's your belief. I get it. You can do what you want to do. As long as it doesn't affect me in my world, right, we're good. I mean, because you can't control other people. And, you know, you can look at that and be like. But
I think it does affect us. I think that we have, you know, I've been in Virginia since 2002, so I have some pride to be a Virginian, even though I wasn't born here, and I don't like that. And I think that whether white, black, male or female, young or old, there are some other individuals that are not always African American that feel the same. Mm-hmm. And I'm going by, why does Chesterfield think that this is okay?
Stephen Sykes in Live in Radio Tuesday 7 to 9 right here on Legacy Internet Radio, live in the Den. He likes to call it the Bat Cave, but we call it the Den here on Aint, Steppin, Marcus J. He's saying it's illegal to burn the Confederate flag in various counties in the South. Here's my thoughts on the Confederate flag. When I see it, my natural instinct is to believe that the bearer of the flag is against minorities, particular black people. Mm-hmm. That is my natural inclination. Yep. Whether that is the actual case or not is not always accurate, because I have seen situations where in my personal experience, I've dealt with people who I know celebrate that flag, who have treated me fairly, have treated me like an actual person. So I don't want to put every single person who bears that flag and kind of stroke them with the same broad brush. However, generally, those same people who may have treated me fairly have to understand the history of that flag and the history of what that flag represents here in our country, particularly in this part of the country. That flag represents a section of the people who were not for the abolishment of slavery. These people did not want to see black people in this country live freely. These are the same people who are okay with the whole 3/5 of a person law that's written here. And so you got to understand, if you're someone who supports that flag here in this country, if you listen to Aint, you probably not. If you listen to this show, you probably ain't supporting supporting that flag. But if you are, you need to understand that your black brothers and sisters, you know, every time they see that flag, they feeling some kind of way about you because they wondering, all right, we cool and everything, we kick it, but that flag means you don't like me.
Are we really cool?
Are we
because
really cool?
I think the same thing you think when you see the flag.
But at the same time, I'm sorry, Tony, I'm gonna make this point and let you get in. But at the same time, my whole thing is I also know about free speech because I understand my rules. I call the Constitution the rules because that's what it is. You can't argue and you can't fight with folks unless you know the rules. The Constitution is the rules, which means you got the right to say whatever the hell you want. You can't scream fire in a crowded theater, but can't do that. But seriously, you can say and do whatever it is that you want. And so if you want to fly the flag, then you can fly the flag. Just like I could rock my Malcolm X prior to 1963 T-shirt, you know, before the glasses and the goatee, and say what? What you gonna do? You know what I mean? So, and I don't need to see you get feeling some kind of way when he called y'all the devil. Just like you don't need to be, you know, I don't need to feel some kind of way when you rocking the flag that says that it's all right to string me up in a tree in the name of Jesus Christ. So, you know, it is what it is. A couple of comments I want to get in here. We're going to move on. The Real Guy Will is saying, burning the Confederate flag. Aren't there ordinances where you can burn trash? Be sure to follow your local ordinance on trash burning. Stephen is keeping it. Stephen's with us. Keep in mind, Chesterfield allowed the KKK to host meetings at their libraries, and that's a good point. I actually saw a KKK guy on his way home one day in a full hooded garb. It absolutely blew my mind, but it is what it is. Sad is listening. What up, bro? He's saying no rule. The more rural you go, you can see it. I see them all the time in Goochland. I actually see them all the time in my neighborhood, and I live in that county. And I remember having family come down from Jersey, and it blew their minds to actually see it. Toyana.
Well, you know, again, just like I was saying, you know, Chesterfield to allow it to be so, you know, avant-garde in a way. Yeah, it's there, but it's really not there. You know, Virginia is interesting because everybody is called a Commonwealth, and I think this is just one of their ways of saying that this is a Commonwealth. And I just wonder what's the reaction, and I think that's what I would like to know. Those that are hanging this flag, what reaction are you trying to get out of this?
The reality is you got the right to do what you want to do, but I got the right to think that you out your damn mind for doing it. Ain't no half Steppin, Marcus J. Just want to get a couple of comments in. And I saw your comment, Scuba 711. Just wanted to have a breaking point to get it. Scuba 711 is going backwards, talking about the South Carolina profiling issues. The issue in South Carolina is really of black people in this country. Chances are there will be a cost to stand your ground rights, especially when someone that doesn't care about you in the first place, but change can only come if we do. And I definitely agree with that. Couple of things real quick. This next one I want to kind of get through real quick. I felt that it was worth kind of bringing up, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. Rube, I want you on this one first. I'm getting this from the Huffington Post religious segment. Judge. I got a Judge Rhymes. Judge Rhymes. Wow.
Poor Rube. Just give him a minute.
I'm gonna give him a minute. This is a judge. I'm having a hard time even reading it. The judge said to Jangeet Singh, a practicing Sikh, and this is a Sikh person. He had been pulled over in January for a flat tire. He was harassed by the State's Department of Transportation officers who had wrongly assumed that his kirpan, which is a small spiritual sword that is a religious article for Sikhs, was illegal. They taunted him as a, quote, terrorist, arrested him for refusing to obey an officer's lawful command. When he got into court, I'm having a hard time even getting into this, but when he got into court, the judge said to him to take off that rag off his head. Sikh's attorney confirmed Judge Rhymes expelled him due to his turban. However, Sikh's faith mandates that covering and believes that if he unwraps in public, it would be both sacrilegious and shameful. A subsequent Department of Justice investigation prompted by the Pike County Board of Supervisors to revise the county's non-discrimination policy to say that religious discrimination includes, quote, requiring an individual to remove head covering or denying that individual access to a county office, building, program, or activity because they are wearing head covering if that head covering is worn for religious activity. American Sikhs obviously encounter misunderstandings about their faith because they very much resemble Muslims in this country. And because we know how many people feel about Muslims in this country because of the systematic brainwashing that was instilled upon them in the ashes of 9/11. Anybody who appears to be different than the masses of people here in the United States are subject to this bullshit. So, Big Rube, I want you in on this one first. What's your thoughts, my man? And I see you having a hard time, but what's your thoughts?
Present company excluded, and present company who are listening to us, my feeling is you don't fall in this category. But why am I surrounded by so many ignorant people on this planet? Are you kidding me? You try to make this dude take off his headgear? Are you kidding me? I mean, that's just straight ignorance. There's nothing else around that. You can call that stupid. You can call that just not knowing. But let's just be honest. It's called context clues. You put 2 and 2 together, it's going to be 4. If you put a dude who looks like he could be a different of descent, and you tell by what he's wearing that nobody else wears that, you think he's wearing it for a reason. Yeah, he's not doing it just because he ain't got nothing else better to do with his life. That's just pure ignorance, and the fact that you have to change a law because you have ignorant people who choose to interpret the law the way they choose to interpret it is even sadder. And I hope that judge, something bad happens to him. But ignorant people will get caught by karma. I'm a full believer in that, and that's just straight. There's no other way around the ignorance of that, because how you gonna sit there and it's hard for me to talk about, because once he said religion, I was just like, oh God,
because how I feel. That's why. What's your thoughts?
I was trying to find a quote Warren Ballantyne had I read earlier today. Said something similar to, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance.
Right.
Yeah.
And bingo for the judge.
But you know how I feel about Warren.
I know.
That's my guy.
I know.
Toyana, what's your thoughts on this one?
Oh, man. What the hell? What the H? You know what else that goes past that? I'm just speechless, because it is to a point where we are trying to be civilized as Americans, and we say that everybody is of one, but yet anything that is outside the norm is a problem, and it's just embarrassing. And I'm like with Big Rube, I don't have a tolerance for ignorant people, so I'm just gonna say what the hell ...
And I Steppin, Marcus J. I don't even think I need to comment on this one. I think it's so obvious that this is an egregious situation where this person who sits on the bench is unaware of the social and religious responsibilities that he may have with regards to showing respect to someone who's of a different culture and a different faith than he is, and we've seen precedent of it, this kind of thing happen before. I mean, we've seen Sikhs get beat up in the street because they resemble Muslims. Yep. They're not Muslims, dumbasses. So I mean, even if they were, because again, I'm of the opinion, that every single individual in this country has the right to be who they are and be what they are, whether that's something that you as an individual like or you don't like. You want to be Muslim, you want to be Sikh, you want to be gay. I mean, whatever it is you want to be who you want to be. But those people on the outside who have a problem with it, why don't you have a problem with it and leave me the hell alone? Stay out of my business. And I have an issue with those of us, and I'm going to just say this little thing on my soapbox, and then we're going to take a break. But I got an issue with people who are part of minority cultures, whether that be a race, whether that be a lifestyle or whatever. You're black, you're gay, you're Muslim, whatever it is. If you are someone who is used to being oppressed and you can't empathize and sympathize with someone in a different situation who is being oppressed, I got a big problem with you. If you're a black person and you got a problem with someone in the Muslim faith being disrespected, I got a problem with you, because you should know firsthand what it's like for the masses to put you in a place or treat you in a certain kind of way just because of who you are and what you are. Don't give me this crap about, well, I didn't choose to be black, they chose to be Muslim, or they chose to be gay. day. You are what you are, whether you choose to be it or not.
Yeah.
Do you mean to tell me that your plight as a black man is more important than this man's plight as a Sikh person? That's crap to me. And I stand firm on that. And if you disagree, call me up and tell me so. 804-402-2893. Be down with the flagship show. Ain't No How Steppin' with Marcus here. We're going to take our first break of the night. And when we come back, I want to know what the hell is going on with these folks in Washington trying to not fund the government. I also want to know, you put monostat in your hair, ladies? What's up with that? And sisters, you want your man? Make his ass some sandwiches. Ain't No How Steppin' with Marcus here. We'll be back in a few minutes.